Mid-B covers HoT, Episode 6. Episode 6 opens on Rhaenyra giving birth to her third child, because of course this show can't go more than one episode without making a spectacle of a woman's pain. Even though it feels like too soon to time jump for me personally, although no one asked me, we've now switched over to the elder actors for characters such as Rhaenyra, Alicent, Laenor, and Laena. 10 years is too much of a time jump to skip all of the simmering resentments that this show relies upon to make these characters' actions believable and sympathetic. Immediately, the baby, and markedly not Rhaenyra, is summoned to Queen Alicent's chambers, but Rhaenyra refuses to let her baby go alone and remain abed. I mean, would you? That's a weird ask. It really speaks to how obsessive and paranoid Alicent has become that she's willing to drag a babe out of its mother's arms seconds after birth. And this is Rhaenyra's third child. It's not like this is like something she's been eagerly waiting to see. You know, it's kind of just, it's like one of three now. Laenor shows up to escort Rhaenyra in what seems to be like a storage hall of some sorts. I don't know. Is that where the princess lives? They go to the king and queen, making a spectacle of Rhaenyra along the way. I think that's kind of the point, to draw attention to what Alicent is doing. Laenor himself is frustrated by the queen's absurd request, and he should be. I am. We see that Sir Criston is indeed still alive and has been reassigned to the King's Guard under Queen Alicent. Queen Alicent is shocked to find that Rhaenyra would show up with the baby, which I find to be evidence of how truly unhinged she has become. In what was apparently a surprise only to me, Viserys is alive, and he shows up as like the best granddad ever. He's so excited. Laenor insists on naming the baby Joffrey. Alicent makes a comment about the name not being Valyrian or Valerian or whatever she says because, you know, fuck Alicent. And King Viserys makes a comment about the baby looking like Laenor that makes everyone uncomfortable, because it doesn't look like Laenor. Alicent then makes a big deal about the baby being brunette and attempts at kidnapping. Do keep trying, Sir Laenor. Sooner or later you might get one that looks like you. Alicent, calm down! Queen Alicent, we're like Queen Mimi of Westeros over here. Rhaenyra expresses her frustration at Laenor's absence as they bleed their way back to her chambers. It's there we meet Rhaenyra's other two children and her Kingsguard assignment, Sir Harwin Strong, who is obviously all three of the children's fathers. It's a great deal. Like, obviously Laenor and Sir Harwin are both in on it and congenial. It's great. It's still kind of funny to watch them all like be very like proper and shit, and Rhaenyra is like, she's the worst among them. Like, she will not drop the act for shit. Sir Harwin is sweet and hot and a dope dad and probably an awesome fuck. The boys pick out a dragon egg for their new little baby brother, Joffrey. At the dragon pits, Alicent and Rhaenyra's children bond with their dragons. Those that have them, anyway. Rhaenyra's son and future king, ostensibly, is named Jace for short. He fucks around with his dragon Vermax for a bit. He's lectured about not fully bonding with it. Aegon and Rhaenyra's boys pull a prank that Aegon definitely orchestrated, making fun of the fact that Aemon, Alicent's younger son, doesn't have a dragon yet. As a result, he throws a fit and wanders down into the dragon pits. There, he's nearly burnt because he's a little shit. I mean, they're dragons. Alicent and her daughter are bonding by examining bugs. Alicent is so beyond bored, but she's trying so hard. Like, being a good mother is very important to her. But her daughter Helena is really not about Alicent's vibe. Aemond is delivered to Alicent with singe marks and tattles on his brother and the other boys. We learn that this isn't the first time he's wandered down to the dragon pits and got himself injured. Helena tells him that he will have a dragon one day and not to worry though, which is like ominous. Alicent then runs immediately to King Viserys, where she complains about Rhaenyra's kids being little savages pulling that prank on her precious boy and what is very like evil stepmom energy. But Viserys rightly points out that it was probably Aegon that put them up to it because Aegon is a little shit and also so much older than them. Alicent makes a snide remark about what a wonder it is that any of Rhaenyra's kids have bonded with dragons at all because she's so shady. Viserys plays dumb. He plays dumb. He's like, pardon? And she's like, you know what I meant. But of course the insinuation here is that Rhaenyra's kids are not true Targaryens. I don't get how that works because of the fact that she had them out of wedlock, even though they would still be Targaryens the same way her kid. The point is, she is obviously insinuating something about Sir Harwin Strong and Rhaenyra, which Viserys does not like, and he puts that matter straight the fuck to bed. Alicent is fed up with what she sees as Viserys' denial of obvious fact fact, at least to her, that Rhaenyra's children are Sir Harwin Strong's. And it's no accident that Alicent says this when there's still a servant in the room. Viserys tries to assuage Alicent's concerns over their grandchildren because they are their grandchildren, but it's obvious he understands or either just doesn't care that Laenor is gay, and there's no point in causing discord. That she's the only person reinforcing these rumors to their detriment. She's just turned into this conservative obsessive, honestly. And Viserys sees this in her, so he forbids her to speak of it again. Good. It's clear that Alicent wants her ego rather than her rights honored, though, at this point. It's evident when she lets Sir Criston slander the princess, calling her a spoiled cunt. Can you imagine if the king heard that? He would never get away with that. But like angelic Alicent over here lets it slide because she feels the same. She doesn't like fully let him off the hook, but she doesn't like chastise him. Alicent, aren't you obsessed with honor and decency and like procedure? This is rude. What you're doing. Criston is such an incel, and it's not even involuntary. It's voluntary. He's a voluntary celibate. What is he complaining about? Alicent finds her son Aegon masturbating out a window Tommen style to confront him about the prank. She doesn't confront him about the prank, but the fact that he's ganging up on his younger brother with his cooler cousins. He says that his younger brother's a prick, but his mom just goes on to instill these paranoid fantasies and delusions about his right to be king and how Rhaenyra will do anything to keep that from him, including killing him and his brother. Alicent is doing a great job turning her personal trauma into generational trauma. Why can't I say generational? She does the exact same scare tactic shit that Otto pulled on her when she was a kid to Aegon. She's poisoned the well, so Aegon can only go on now viewing Rhaenyra's kids as enemies. But I have trouble believing this is the first time this has come up. In fact, he goes so far as to say, like, he has no interest in the claim, and he says he will go out of his way to make sure they know he doesn't want to challenge it. And she, like, forcibly shuts him up and says, like, everyone already sees you as the king anyway. This is not, like, about that. It's not about, like, what you want. It's about, like, your safety. Oh, is this about their safety? I wish the show put more emphasis on Alicent's personal ambition, because this paranoia just doesn't make sense with what we've seen of her character so far. It really is, like, obsessive and over the top. If something happened in that 10 years to warrant this, okay. But this seems like above and beyond if she doesn't have personal designs on power for herself. It doesn't seem like she does, other than what can be used to protect her children. Like, it seems like she is doing this out of fear, but why? Like, what made her this fearful? You'd think without her father's influence, if things were like peaceful over those 10 years, you would see her get more relaxed without that poisoning in her mind, right? Daemon and Laena give an awesome dragon show in Pentos. Laena now rides Vhagar, the very dragon she was quizzing King Viserys on earlier in the series. She's the largest dragon in the world. Laena, Daemon, and their 2 girls are in Pentos, a country in Essos. The local nobility is trying to lure Daemon and his family, particularly his dragons, to stay. In return, they would be given permanent royalty status and a whole estate, yada yada. Laena is not interested, but Daemon entertains the idea. But Lady Laena is homesick and misses her brother in particular, and she also misses the ambitious power player she married. Back at King's Landing, Sir Lionel Strong, Sir Harwin Strong, his son, and King Viserys watch Sir Criston Cole give the 4 princes, both Alicent and Rhaenyra's children, sword fighting lessons. It's obvious he's favoring Alicent's children. It's like to a distressing degree that he favors them. And finally, Sir Harwin, very politely and professionally, I may add, points this out and says, like, hey, maybe like divvy up your attention between the older and the younger boys a little more fairly, sir. And Sir Criston is an asshole, so he immediately takes it to 1,000. Sir Criston then encourages Aegon to beat the fuck out of Jace, 3 to 5 years younger than him at least. Finally, after Sir Criston has encouraged Aegon to pin Jace to the ground and not relent, Sir Harwin forcibly pulls Aegon off of Jace and laments that Sir Criston would encourage cruelty in one of his pupils like that. And even Viserys admonishes Aegon for his actions. It was totally unhonorable. Sir Criston pokes the bear and eventually gets what he wants by straight up accusing Sir Harwin of favoring Jace like one would a son. Sir Harwin goes apeshit at that, beating Sir Kristen's face in. Ooh. Incidentally, his anger confirms the accusation. When using a secret passage, Rhaenyra overhears a conversation between Sir Harwin and his father, Sir Lionel Strong. Sir Lionel says that Sir Harwin has brought shame upon their house. Lionel is panicking. He says that people have eyes, Harwin, and that only Viserys' blindness, his flimsy shield of favoritism, keeps Sir Harwin from, like, the gallows. But Sir Harwin feels no shame. He says, "You have your honor," to his father, "and I have mine." And I love that. He really is such, he's so good. After the seemingly pointless excursion, just like wandering the innards of the halls, Rhaenyra returns to her chambers to be greeted by a very drunk Sir Laenor. Sir Laenor says he doesn't want to bother with the politics at King's Landing and wants to go have fun taking back the stepstones and finding glory in the military there. The Triarchy have allied with Dorne, so there's a whole new conflict to worry about. But Rhaenyra needs Sir Laenor at her side now more than ever, helping her for once after he's enjoyed years of revelry. He implies that he would feel comfortable abandoning Rhaenyra, so she orders him to stay as his princess. But they make up later, it's fine. Back in Pentos, Daemon and Laena's daughter, Rhaena, tries to hatch a dragon egg by the fire. It's really cute. She's afraid the Prince of Pentos will expel her and not want her there if she doesn't have a dragon too. She doesn't have a dragon, unlike her sister Baela. Laena tells her she may yet bond with the dragon. Laena herself did not bond with Vhagar until she was 15. Rhaena insists that she doesn't feel the love from Daemon the same way he shows love to Baela. Laena insists to her daughter that their father is trying their best. And is he? Laena wants to return to Westeros to give birth to her child on Driftmark and raise it there. She even goes so far as to accuse Daemon of missing his own brother. Ha! He gets all bashful after that, according to me. Laena makes the point that Pentos is not Daemon's city, and she knows this because he's turned into a total bookworm nerd since they got there. And it's totally true. Like, if Pentos was, like, his place and he felt comfortable there, he'd be out there partying it up, not turning into a total dweeb in the library all the time. You know what I mean? Boring. At Viserys' small council meeting, we see that Rhaenyra is uncomfortable and impatient. There's a dispute broken out between the Brackens and the Blackwoods. If you remember, they were the warring families that made a spectacle of themselves when Rhaenyra was shopping for a suitor a few episodes ago. Alicent says that this is a Tully problem, the local lord there, but Rhaenyra pushes back and says that they've been saying that for years and the problem has only gotten worse, so why not turn to commoners in the area and see what they have to say about where the land should be drawn and settle the matter once and for all. A very strong leadership move, I dig it. Like, yeah, that strategy of just leaving it up to the locals has not proved fruitful thus far and has only resulted in bloodshed. Lord Lionel Strong agrees and says that it should be easy enough to quiz the common folk. And when Sir Lionel Strong agrees with Rhaenyra's assessment, by the way, they're framed in shots together as like a unit because they're a team. He respects her. Alicent cannot help but be like, of course, like under her breath. Like, of course, Sir Lionel, father to Harwin, would like side with Rhaenyra. It's like, yeah, Alicent is correct, but she's also the worst. A running theme in this meeting in particular is Alicent's inability to accept any accountability on the part of the crown. The conflicts between the Brackens and the Blackwoods, that's a Tully problem. The Stepstones left undefended after Daemon took it back, that's Daemon's problem. It was his responsibility. And then Rhaenyra was like, okay, well, we should have built fortifications because fortifications might be costly, but they're cheaper than war. And now, look at us. Look at the position we're in. She seems ready and willing to take accountability, and that continues through the rest of the meeting. And she's right, like, the Stepstones are their land. Why would Daemon take it back and then assume he has to keep it forever? He's not king of that land. Viserys is. Rhaenyra is a leader who wants to face the storm head on, and Alicent wants to brush these things under the rug. When Rhaenyra calls the council back after they are dismissed by Viserys, Alicent, like, refuses to sit. It's quite disrespectful, but I guess she is the queen and doesn't need to listen to the princess. King Viserys doesn't order her to sit, so they continue. Rhaenyra surprisingly addresses the strife between them head on and offers to marry her son Jace, heir to the Iron Throne after herself, to Alicent's daughter Helaena. She even apologizes for any offense given, incidental or not, and maintains that they were friends long before they were family, and she wants to return to that. Viserys is giddy. Alicent basically laughs, like she's so angry she can barely contain herself. herself. Lionel and Rhaenyra are uncomfortable, but Rhaenyra plows on. She goes so far as to offer Alicent's sons dragon eggs from Syrax's next batch litter. Alicent then derails everything by pointing out that Rhaenyra's boobs are leaking milk. In private, or rather as they're walking through crowded hallways, Alicent is insulted that Rhaenyra would try to engage her Helena with one of her plain-faced boys. She meant to say bastards, and you can see her stop. Viserys begs her to take Rhaenyra's offer and says that this is an olive branch. Alicent refuses and says that no, it's not an olive branch, it's a sign of Rhaenyra's desperation. Rhaenyra is cornered in Alicent's mind, and that's why she would pull a stunt like this, I guess. Viserys begs her, again, to put away the childish quarrels and just work as a team with Rhaenyra. Alicent says he's more than welcome to do that over her dead frickin' body. Viserys is very, very sick, sure, but Alicent is on the cusp of like Munchausen by proxy with how much she's fussing over him. Sir Lionel comes to visit Viserys despite Alicent's attempts to the contrary. Sir Lionel wants to resign due to the disgrace brought upon his house by Sir Harwin that morning. Viserys says that yes, it was an unfortunate incident, but Sir Harwin has been dismissed from the King's Guard, and that's punishment enough. Sir Lionel demurs when Viserys demands that he put it into specifics. But Alicent is eager for Sir Lionel to put this into words. In fact, if Alicent hadn't been so pushy about Sir Lionel getting into the meat of it, Viserys might know the truth of this dishonor. But Lionel refuses to say the words, knowing that the fate for Rhaenyra and her children is exile or worse, not to mention his own son. Because Sir Lionel will not state the dishonor that prompts it, Viserys refuses his resignation. Lionel then asks for leave to escort his son back to Harrenhal, where he is to assume the lordship. Do you guys feel like we're missing anyone? Viserys grants him this leave, and Alicent is very, very displeased. We see that she's secretly a laughingstock with servants giggling behind her back. And when she's alone with men, they always find like excuses to come in and make a long eye contact when Alicent dismisses them. We learn that Larys and Alicent have an arrangement where they share all the hot goss over dinner. For someone so judgmental about Rhaenyra hanging out with single men, Alicent really sure goes out of her way to hang out with them. Larry says that if it were her daughter, maybe Alicent might feel the same way Viserys does and not want to see the fact that Rhaenyra's children are bastards. This is clearly just like Larys baiting Alicent into revealing more of her true character. She insists she would not let her children get away with such depravity, which is kind of ironic because we've already seen her let her children get away with multiple depravities this episode. She says that even though it's fair to wish that Sir Lionel be dismissed for his favoritism towards his son, she says it's not unfair for her to wish that her father were back as Hand of the King, because at least someone in King's Landing would be on her side. Sir Larys is drinking this all in, and what he hears is that Alicent is not satisfied with the Hand of the King and wishes him replaced with her own father. We see that Sir Larys goes to cut the tongues out of a bunch of criminals who would otherwise have been sent to death. This puts them in their debt, and he's going to ask them a favor. Lady Laena is giving birth in Pentos, and it is not going well. She should have been back at Driftmark. The physician says there's nothing else to be done. Lady Laena hears this. She goes to find Vhagar on the beach when no one's paying attention to her and demands that Vhagar burn her alive. Finally, after multiple attempts, Vhagar does indeed burn Laena alive, and she gets her Dragon Rider's death. Sir Harwin says goodbye to his sons and Rhaenyra. I would be a wreck letting that piece go. Okay? Either or. Pick. Jace asks Rhaenyra outright, is he a bastard? Is Sir Harwin his father? And Rhaenyra doesn't answer the question directly, but instead says, you're a Targaryen, and that's all that matters. Which is like, that's kind of how Targaryens work. Like, they do that. Rhaenyra goes to find Sir Laenor and says they must go to Dragonstone and wait out the storm there. She wishes no longer to be a spectacle for gossips in the Red Keep, and tells Sir Laenor to bring his paramour with him to Dragonstone, for they will need every sword they can muster. I love that, like, even though she just like lost her love, she's not begrudging her friend and husband his, you know? I love a power couple, even if it's like platonic. I love it. Honestly though, I think it would have been less traumatic and more beneficial for everyone in the long run if they couldn't have just like found one little night to get his juice. I'm sorry I brought that up. It's just like, it would have saved so much head. I'm sorry, it would have. Then we see Harrenhal is burning with Sir Harwin and Sir Lionel inside. it's implied that neither of them make it, but I think I said that about Viserys last episode, so what the fuck do I know? What are children but a weakness, we hear Sir Larys say in voiceover. Through them you imagine you can cheat the great darkness of its victory, as though kids can keep you alive forever in some form. But Larys says we surrender what we should not, service of our love to kids. Love stays the hand, even if the right thing still ought to be done. We see he's speaking to Alicent. Love is a downfall, and Larys knows no love. He finds it an encumbrance. Alicent is horrified. The queen makes a wish, Larys says. What good servant wouldn't trip over themselves to fulfill it? Alicent insists that she did not wish this. But Larys says that she should write to her father and request that he take his post as Hand of the King. That's what she wanted, right? He looks forward to the day that she sees fit to reward him. This is basically a threat as much as it is a gift, because it implicates her in this heinous crime. This episode, Daemon and Rhaenyra both lose people by fire, whereas Alicent gains her father back. So weird how the universe works. Wow. That's it for episode 6 of House of the Dragon. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the comments below. I'll see you next week for House of the Dragon episode 7. And then after that, we got 3 more to go. 4 more after this one. Don't get confused. Bye! Go now before I confuse you. Go. Go.